In this video, you will learn about the metaphysics of spiritual transformation. I will also tell you the way I can gauge someone's spiritual progress. Now, I am not an energy healer per se, someone that works with the human subtle body. I am an earth healer, geomancer and dowser, that works extensively with Mother Earth's subtle body, her hidden body. And I believe the process occurring in her subtle body are very similar to the ones that are occurring in the human subtle body. That is because we live in a sea of consciousness, and the Hermetic principle of as above, as below means that what is happening in higher planes of existence are happening in lower levels of consciousness. We are here to be transformed, to become more loving, giving, altruistic, to be kind and compassionate. These are the characteristics that we are developed to become part of who we are and define us. The earth is like a large classroom. Our mother, she is our guide and our partner here on this journey on the earth plane. Yet we exist in a giant sea of consciousness. Hindu mystics tell us that we have a soul, as have other religions, but they see the soul consisting of two parts: the actual soul, which contains the divine spark of God, and our evolving soul. Our evolving soul is a reflection of all that we have done in this life and in a previous life. This is where the score is being kept. So when we do good things or we do bad things, that will be reflected in our soul. Sri Aurobindo called this our psychic being. One of the ways that our soul transformed is through the intake of spiritual nutrition. And one of those things I call is meditation or love prana or cosmic prana. And while we live in a sea of consciousness, there are a myriad of energies moving across the surface of the earth. And one of those is love prana. And this love prana, very similar to the movement of the life force, is released by a chakra. It is released by a duct, and a chakra pulls it in from the distance. And then the chakra passes it up into the sky above, and then it moves across up in the sky and down into the duct where it's re-released. Constantly this movement going on and on. All of the surface of the earth is covered with the movement of this cosmic or love prana. And you're immersed in it 24/7. And because you're immersed in it, I believe your soul evolves a tiny, 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 minuscule amount. Small, not large, small, very incredibly small. But I do believe that. Now, when we do loving acts, when we do good things, when we are compassionate, when we help others, when we are altruistic, we get a bigger dose of love prana. All of a sudden, this love prana that is more consciousness than energy, I should add. In other words, that is more consciousness. See my video on levels of consciousness where I talk about this, but it has a more higher content of consciousness than energy. It'll nourish your soul, okay? And that's what it does. This nourishes your soul. And when we do a good, loving, kind act, we get a bigger dose. The spigot is turned on. All this flow of energy across Earth, all of a sudden it just turns in. The same way you see it in my videos. I've got pictures of energy vortices. Think of a vortex. The energy's going like this, and it just turns right in. That's how we are transformed. Our soul picks this, our evolving soul picks this up, and that it just nourishes us and lifts up our soul ever so slightly. Conversely, if we are violent or hateful or selfish, the spigot of cosmic prana is turned off. We become malnourished. We languish. Our soul does not evolve. And it slowly begins to diminish. Now, in this next exhibit, you can see that a woman is meditating. And look at what's happening. You see the flow of cosmic prana or love prana across the surface of the earth. And as she's meditating, a small circle forms where she pulls it in. That pulling in is nourishing her soul all the time. This is one of the reasons. Just one. There's other reasons you want to meditate. And this is one, because it's going to nourish your soul and make you a better person. Our thoughts and actions do more than influence the flow of love prana. Each time we think or undertake an action, we create an impression, what Hinduism calls a samskara. These samskaras attach to our subtle body and become a permanent record of all that we think and do, that becomes the root of our karma, basically, that we will carry forward into a future life. Now, the more we think or act out a particular thought or action, the stronger it becomes. Think of a vision board and how you wish something to manifest something. The more you think about it, the stronger it becomes. It is the same with these samskaras. You're creating a samskara that is going to get stronger, and over time is going to influence us and become part of our character. They're going to define who we are. So another form of transformation is taking place, not only the evolving soul, but these defining characteristics of who we are from our thinking and actions over time. Over time, as these samskaras grow, they do more than influence our character. They begin to have a pronounced influence upon the flow of energy and consciousness into us. Loving, caring thoughts begin to pull in energy and consciousness. Even when we're not doing something, it just has this sort of law of attraction effect. Those positive thoughts pull it in. Conversely, if we have negative and violent thoughts, those samskaras begin to block and impede us in many, many ways and diminish our evolving soul and make us and turn us more into a dark trajectory of more towards evil than than the divine. I call the measure of a person or a place a consciousness quotient. It is a reflection of their progress along of whether they are more towards the divine or more towards the demonic. Everything in the sea of consciousness that we exist in can be measured or has a score or is somehow evolving or transforming. Demonic consciousness would be selfishness, violence, hate, whereas loving divine consciousness, Christ-like behavior, that would be divine or positive consciousness, as I would call it. Everything on this sea of consciousness we live in lies somewhere along this continuum. And I would say it's, let's say, a score of 0 from demonic to 100 for divine. So all of us are somewhere in between that. All of us are evolving. 50 would be neutral. Now, divine consciousness spins clockwise in the northern hemisphere and counterclockwise in the southern hemisphere. Demonic or negative consciousness spins counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. So these are the barometers I look at. The faster it spins, the stronger a particular feature is. So if I start, let's say if we give that score of 0 to 100 and 50 would be average. So if it spins very slow, constant, so it means you're a little bit above 50. It's not an average, it's just a rough gauge. And I really don't measure places, or I measure places a lot. I don't measure people because I don't want to harm them, upset them, and I don't think it's really right to do it. So I really don't. I've only done it a few times. You can often get a gauge of someone just by meeting them. Divine people are pretty apparent, as are really bad people. But all of us lie along this continuum. Now, I use this a lot in my work as an earth healer because it is that consciousness that is attached to a place. It's all of its actions that has ever transpired there, all the positive, loving, caring things. That is going to reflect on that space. And not only does it reflect on the space, it influences the space profoundly, as it does you. It profoundly defines the space. So if I can find a space, let's say, that has 10 fields of consciousness with these ley lines, these most incredible, 12 fields stacked upon each other, and I can find other features. But if it is covered with negativity and hate and violence, it's a bad space. Conversely, if I find a space that is, there's nothing to it, but it's full of love and compassion, because someone kind and generous lived on that space, and they did good works and helped other people, that is an uplifting and wonderful and divine space. So our thoughts and actions matter, not only to us, but to all of space and to everything. That is because we live in a sea of consciousness, and we are all beings of consciousness evolving in this sea of consciousness to hopefully become more like the divine, to become so much more. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you've learned something. Thank you for your time and consideration. Please like and subscribe. Blessings!